In a small village nestled in a valley below the Italian Alps, lived a young girl named Alina Lovell. Her father, Mr. Lovell, raised Alina since her mother died during childbirth. The Lovells lived in a 2-story house called the Greystone Manor. Next to their house was Mr. Lovell's mechanic shop. Though the Lovell shop wore many hats over the past century, the name always remained the same, the Lovell shop. There were 11 families in that small village. Mr. Lopez did dentistry out of the Capone practice. Mr. Lorenzo took care of the pharmacy and mailing needs. The Polizos ran the village grocery store, and so much more. Still, one fateful day, one man would try to end it all, the Duke. The Duke estate sat atop the East Mountain overlooking the village. He decided to have notices posted on every village door, demanding the village people pay past and future property taxes in an unfathomable sum, or vacate immediately. You see, the Duke was a changed man after his bride-to-be, Diana, died in his arms. The village threw a festival for them, even calling her Duchess Diana, in anticipation for their royal wedding the next day. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. The Duke, his driver, and Diana all slipped off of the cliff, crashing in a fiery blaze below. The Duke tried to save Diana, burning himself in the process, but to no avail. After that day, the Duke became a recluse. He closed his mountain to public view, hired workers to replace the village businesses, and placed Rottweilers around his property to keep everyone away. Rumors spread that it was because the Duke, once handsome, was now burnt to ugliness. Alina wasn't going to be deterred, though. She had to face the Duke, to save her father's garage and the town's legacy. So, she packed a sack, filling it with clothes, food and bear spray, left her father a note, and began the long hike up the East Mountain. After so many miles, Alina began to hear barking in the distance. Though it alarmed her, she continued forward. The barking came closer and closer, and she finally stopped to pull her bear spray out of her sack. At that exact moment, a single Rottweiler came charging toward Alina, from the tree line in the distance. In her panic, Alina stepped backwards, slipping on gravel, and began tumbling down the side of the cliff. The Rottweiler soon caught up and stood above where Alina had just been, panting and watching as if to be sure the threat was no more. Luckily, Alina had knocked herself out, appearing dead. Miss, a gray-haired man with thick glasses said, pointing a flashlight into Alina's eyes. She shielded her eyes, saying, "Who are you?" "I am Dr. Schwartz," the elderly man said. "It seems you had quite the spill." "No, sir," Alina interrupted. "Your dogs attacked me." From the doorway, a tall young man, a few years older than Alina, with a scruffy beard said, "They did no such thing." "Is he the Duke?" Alina thought, though she didn't see any scars, unless they were under his bushy facial hair. "Why didn't you call me an ambulance then?" Alina rebutted, now well that the nearest hospital was mountains away. The younger man scoffed. "You have the best doctor in all of Italy in front of you." Alina shot up, finger in the younger man's face as she pushed him up against a wall, saying, "The best doctor in all of Italy is Dr. Capone." Okay, Dr. Schwartz interjected. "Miss Alina," she said. "Miss Alina, you may have a concussion," Dr. Schwartz finished. Alina felt her head, then went to sit down. "I would like to keep you in my care for a few days to be sure." "A few days?" Both the Duke and Alina objected simultaneously. Alina felt the bandage on her sore head for the first time. It did seem to be a professional bandage of sorts. She then looked the young man up and down before asking, "And just who are you?" The young man hesitated, looked at Dr. Schwartz, who nodded, then responded, "I am the Duke." Alina immediately sat up straight, debating whether or not to show respect as she'd been taught to do her entire life, despite the newfound knowledge that this man, the Duke, was about to take all of her inheritance. Sensing her dilemma, the Duke began grinning before saying, "No need to curtsy. I do understand. So he thinks it's funny," Alina thought to herself, before letting slip out loud, "You don't have to be so smug, Your Royal Highness." Okay, Dr. Schwartz interjected again, giving a stern look toward the Duke. The Duke seemed to immediately pick up what Dr. Schwartz was laying down. With a much friendlier tone this time, the Duke turned his posture back toward Alina. "Here is the deal," the Duke began explaining. "I cannot afford a lawsuit, and you, I assume, came up here to try to convince me not to take your father's property." Alina started to object out of pride, but quickly realized she was in no position to deny it now, while sitting on his couch with an ice pack and a sore head. "Fine. Yes, That is why I planned to come up here, she confessed. Therefore, the Duke exclaimed, you were trespassing. Dr. Schwartz once again interjected. Although we cannot be liable for her injuries. Now that she is in my care, he stated. The Duke rolled his eyes, saying, Fine. You can stay until your treatment is done. But then you must leave. Well, wait, but you said something about not taking my father's property. Alina exclaimed. Yes, the Duke gave a smug reply. But that was before you admitted to trespassing. Alina couldn't believe the Duke's arrogance. Yet unfortunately for him, she wasn't as young and senseless as he'd hoped. Looking him deep in the eyes, still from the couch, Alina set the Duke straight. You wouldn't have me here under the care of your world-renowned doctor if there wasn't something at stake for you, she retorted with confidence. The Duke's demeanor suddenly changed, as he realized he couldn't persuade this young girl to see things his way. That was quite unusual for the Duke, as almost everyone in his life had agreed with him, whether he was right or not. With a much more irritated tone, the Duke proceeded to berate Alina. You listen here, he exclaimed, standing over Alina now. If it weren't for my family and I, you and your father's legacy would look quite different. Now, Dr. Schwartz cut in. There is no need to turn this into a tit for tat. Sir, he turned toward the Duke. There is a compromise here. A compromise? Both Alina and the Duke sputtered simultaneously. Yes, Dr. Schwartz explained. What if Alina stays here under my care? And in the meantime, she could help you with your interior design dilemma. Both Alina and the Duke objected to Dr. Schwartz's idea at first. What do I get out of this? Alina asked. How do I even know that she has taste and not tact for designing? The Duke questioned. I'll have you know, I am quite the decorator. Alina spat back at the Duke. Yes, Dr. Schwartz replied. I have personally seen Alina's town decorations during village events. And Alina, we could give you a striking reference for any future endeavors you might pursue in interior designs. Alina thought it over briefly. That would give her a great start to her career and thus her freedom. I don't know, the Duke said, interrupting Alina's internal debate. Seems she will be getting the better end of this deal. Once again, Alina was blown away by the Duke's arrogance. How? She said in rebuttal. How am I getting the better end of this deal? When my father will still be losing everything? When I won't even have a home to come back to? How? The Duke began pacing back and forth, occasionally glancing at Dr. Schwartz, as if they were arguing telepathically. After a few moments, the Duke sat back down in the chair across from Alina. All right, he said. Here's the deal. If you can help me decorate an interior design in time for my family's putrid annual celebration in honor of the village people, and make it so worthy that they themselves are pleased at its sight, then I will announce that I no longer require past property taxes, only those going forward. As Alina thought it over, Dr. Schwartz added, but she must continue treatment under my care while doing so, until there are no visible signs of head injury. Can I do this? Alina thought. But what about my father? She responded. The annual celebration isn't for another month. He will worry about my whereabouts. I will have the butler take him a note, the Duke stated. Take it or leave. I'll be in my room. With that, the Duke exited the library. Fine, Alina agreed. I will do this, but my father must get a note from me. Rather excitedly, Dr. Schwartz arose, called over the butler, and instructed him to take Alina to the Montrose room. Walking through the giant hallways, Alina was in awe at the gold trim bordering all the framework, even up in the ceiling. She continued up another set of stairs. Not quite as grand as the first set, but still grand nonetheless. Though the townspeople had all been in certain parts of the downstairs of the Duke's chateau during past village honorary events, no one had been in the rest of the chateau until now. That night, as Alina lay in her giant bed, in the big luxurious room, she tried not to be frightened by the shadows illuminated by the moonlight. Eventually, she began getting sleepy by thinking happy thoughts. Mostly about how good the Duke had smelled to her. His scent was like no other. It was intoxicating. It was sweet, yet rough all in one manly scent. It was an aroma she would not soon forget. The next morning, though she felt sore from her fall the day before, Alina wandered the chateau looking for the dining room. She had made it to the second floor, but seemed to have took a wrong turn, as she could not find the main staircase leading to the first floor. As she made her way down a long hallway, filled with doors on either side, It occurred to Alina that she might not make it to breakfast on time. The hallway seemed to never end, so she spun around to go back the way she had come. Instead, Alina spun into someone. The Duke. Alina's head came to the Duke's chin, as he caught her in his thick arms. "I'm sorry," she tried to explain, backing up from the Duke. "That I was lost. It's this way." The Duke gestured for her to follow him, seeming uninterested in her explanation. Alina followed behind, as the Duke led her to a narrow staircase hidden between walls, in the same direction she had originally headed. The staircase led to the kitchen on the first floor, where a chef and 2 assistants were rushing around to make breakfast. Alina nodded to the maids, bringing out the food as they entered through a door into the massive dining room. The dining room has a massive table in it, with place settings nearly displayed at each seat. The Duke went through the dining room, though, and into a sunroom, with a small breakfast nook. Surprisingly, the Duke pulled out Alina's chair for her, directing her where to sit. At least he is a gentleman, Alina thought to herself. Dr. Schwartz, who had already been seated at the breakfast nook, stood out of respect when Alina approached. After clearing his throat, he began a verbal checkup. "How are you feeling this morning, Miss Alina?" Dr. Schwartz asked. "A little sore, if I'm being honest," Alina replied. "But no dizziness, blurry vision, or headaches, correct?" Dr. Schwartz asked. Alina shook her head no, as the breakfast food began being placed on the table. Pancakes, French toast, crepes, bacon, sausage. The options were endless. "Did my father yet receive my letter?" Alina questioned, while neatly placing her napkin on her lap. "Yes, ma'am. Mr. Lorenzo handed it to him by hand." Alina nodded as she reached for the butter. As soon as she grabbed the butter, the Duke's hand, much larger and chaliced, touched her soft, delicate hands. With the touch came a shock. As they both removed their hands, "You shocked me?" the Duke exclaimed. "Your audacity never ceases to amaze me." "Your Highness," Alina responded gracefully. Though she didn't see it, the Duke let a slight smile slip. He found himself charmed by Alina's no-nonsense attitude toward him. After breakfast, Dr. Schwartz suggested Alina spend the day resting, but she insisted on working, so Mr. Lorenzo took her to the basement, where every decor imaginable was sitting on shelves, boxed up and neatly ordered. "Anything you need that is not here, let me know, and I will order it for you," Mr. Lorenzo instructed. "The entire first floor is to be designed, all but the kitchen and bathrooms, of course." Alina looked around, scanning the endless options for decorating. "Just don't wander past this room, because you will become lost," Mr. Lorenzo said. "It's similar to the Paris catacombs down here." After that, Alina spent most of her day going through the decorations, in the muggy, cold, stoned basement. Before long, she had a pile to get started with. She had flowers, curtains, placemats, a table liner, and some knickknacks to match, all for the dining room. Before she could get to the steps, though, with her hands full, Alina began hearing a suspicious noise from one of the tunnels she was told not to explore. It was almost like a scratching noise, mixed with a low whistle. Scared but curious, Alina sat her pile back down and began walking toward the noise. Having seen an old flashlight nearby, Alina was relieved to be able to turn it on. The dark stone tunnel seemed to go on forever. The flashlight kept dimming on and off, before she suddenly caught a glimpse of a human leg. "Ah!" Alina screamed, dropping the flashlight and turning to run. But before she could make it to the steps, a hand reached out and grabbed her. Alina was frightened to no end. Before she was spun around to face the Duke. "Haha, I scared you so bad." The Duke laughed. "That was better than scaring the maids." Alina's heart still raced as she glared at the Duke. "That is not nice. And how did you even sneak past me down those rickety stairs?" "Come," the Duke said, grabbing her hand. "I'll show you." Reluctantly, Alina began following the Duke down the dark tunnel he had come from. Luckily, the Duke had his own flashlight. "What if he kills me down here?" Alina thought to herself briefly, before shaking the thought away. As the tunnel went on, it became narrower. Eventually, they came to a heavy wooden door. On the other side of the door was a staircase. The staircase led upstairs, to a small study on the first floor. "So this is the way you came to scare me," Alina exclaimed. "Just for that. I will require your help with bring my decorations upstairs." The Duke chuckled. "I guess I owe you that," he replied, Surprisingly, the Duke did more than help Alina bring her decorations up. He actually helped her hang some, since he was much taller than Alina, who was tiny in comparison. After that, a love began to blossom. The chateau was suddenly filled not with seriousness and depression, but with laughter and warmth. Hours would go by, where the Duke and Alina would conversate, from sunup till sundown. Dr. Schwartz, Mr. Lorenzo, the maid, the cooks, and everyone else at the Duke's chateau began looking forward to seeing the Duke smile and laugh, rather than always frown and walk around grumpy. "And you are too handsome to always be moping around here, sir," his assistant, Ms. Sophie, would say, in usual Duke fashion. He would brush it off, until now. Alina seemed to spark something in the Duke that was long forgotten since Diana died. He was 23 now, and quite scruffy in the face, since he'd spent the past 4 years in depression and sadness. 2 weeks into Alina's stay at the chateau, the Duke came to breakfast with a whole new look. He shaved his face down to neat and pampered goatee. Alongside his right cheek, there was a small burn, stretching back behind his ear. It was horrid, but rather added to the Duke's sharp features. Alina, now sitting beside the Duke, stared at him a little too long. The Duke suddenly put a hand up to his cheek as if to cover the burn. Insecurities poured over him all over again. Alina softly grabbed the Duke's hand from his cheek. Staring him in the eyes, she gently dragged her finger across the Duke's scar, on his cheek, as if to let him know that she saw it. But it was part of him, so she loved it. With that, the Duke's lips latched onto Alina's lips with an exchange of heat and passion ensuing between the two. Their hands were both everywhere on each other's body, all at once. Quietly, Dr. Schwartz grabbed his plate of food and tiptoed to the kitchen, where he and the maids eagerly watched the Duke and Alina's exchange through a tiny, round window. It wasn't until the Duke suddenly lifted Alina onto the table that Dr. Schwartz ushered the maids away, instructing nobody to enter the breakfast nook. Yet the Duke didn't seem to mind who watched. Years' worth of pent-up anger and sadness were released from him, as he gently knocked all of the items off of the table, in one swoop, laying Alina back. She began undressing the Duke's button-down shirt, as he pulled her simple, oversized sweater and camisole up over her head. Then, Alina arched back, allowing the Duke to kiss her bare chest. When he was done, she too began kissing his chest, which was surprisingly clean-shaven and very muscular. Once they were done fully undressing, the Duke had his way with Alina, right there, on the dining room table. Once they were finished, they quickly put their clothes back on, with disheveled hurriedness, and did the walk of shame through the front room. They giggled as they tried avoiding everyone. As they reached the main stairway, the Duke led Alina up the stairs with urgency, passing a maid on the way. They quickly hurried off to the Duke's room, which was the size of Alina's house. The fireplace was lit, as they danced to the Duke's bathroom shower. Inside his steamy shower, they made love again, then once or twice on the Duke's bed as well. "Shall I move Miss Alina's things into your master suite?" Mr. Lorenzo half joked to the Duke. A few days later, "It's not like that." "Yet," the Duke responded, with a steady grin. Suddenly the phone rang. It was the Duke's mother. "Are you preparing for the grand ceremony, son?" "It is only a week and a half away," she bellowed through the phone. "Yes, mother," the Duke replied. "You will be very pleased." "Very well," his mother responded. "I will be bringing a very important guest. I want her to be impressed as well." "Nabibut." Before he could fully protest, his mother hung up. Alina really had been doing a tasteful job on decorating each room for the grand get-together. And when she wasn't decorating, Alina and the Duke were prancing around like children with giddy excitement, and like brand new lovers. Unfortunately, the day came when their love would be tested. With the celebration only days away, Alina put the final touches on all of her decorating with the Duke close behind, helping her. "Thank you, Your Majesty," Alina chanted after the Duke handed her a ribbon. "I told you. Call me by my first name." "Gianni." "The Duke," playfully scolded her. "Fine. Gianni, isn't your family coming tomorrow?" "Yes, and I cannot wait to introduce them to you," the Duke exclaimed, admiring Alina as she hung the last minute decor. "And I just know they will love the way you have turned this chateau into a masterpiece," he added. Alina heard the maids talking about how much more cheerful the Duke had become in the last few weeks, so It was fair to assume that the Duke's royal parents would at least appreciate Alina for helping cure his depression, even if they didn't like her for their son as a village girl. The next day proved to be anything but nerve-wracking for Alina. As the Duke's family arrived, each in a nice car with even nicer clothing, Alina felt like a part of the staff, dressed in plain clothing, next to the Duke. Each of his cousins and siblings, aunts and uncles, and other family members and friends of the royal family were very courteous to Alina, though they likely assumed she was the Duke's latest assistant. Likewise, Alina would curtsy to each one with poise. Then one of the last to arrive was the Duke's mother and father. With them came their surprise guest, Lady Isabella. "Hi, Gio," Isabella said to the Duke, reaching her hand out. Being the gentleman he was brought up to be, the Duke responded with a subtle kiss to Lady Isabella's hand. "Lady Isabella, it has been quite some time," the Duke stated. "Gio, it's Izzy." "You act as if we don't know each other," Lady Isabella remarked, flirtatiously swatting at the Duke's shoulder. Alina, growing increasingly uncomfortable, decided to disappear into the kitchen before the Duke felt pressured to still introduce her. The maids she has become friendly with could see Alina's discomfort immediately. "Miss, do not be dismayed. These people, they are not like us. Do not take it to heart," the first maid, Serena, said. "They would much sooner hang us up for decorations than treat us as one of them." Chef Thomas said, "Yes, doll. Do not blame the Duke either. He is just falling in line as he is supposed to do," the other maid, Penny, said. Just then, the kitchen door swung open, and everyone stopped to curtsy or bow to the Duke as he entered. Alina did the same. "Why are you showing my title respect, Alina? What has changed? Are you intimidated by Lady Isabella?" the Duke exclaimed. Alina's cheeks burned as she responded. "Should I be?" The Duke gently grabbed Alina by the waistband, pulled her into him. "Lady Isabella has nowhere near the brains, nor character, nor beauty that you hold. My sweet Alina," he whispered into her ear. "Now come, meet my family," the Duke stated firmly, tugging at Alina to follow. "But look how I'm dressed," Alina argued, looking down at her brown button-down shirt and plain black skirt. "I do not compare, Your Majesty." That phrase, "Your Majesty," looked as if Alina had thrown a dagger into the Duke's heart. "Is that how you still feel about me? After all this time?" Alina looked down to the floor before responding. "Yes, Your Majesty. You have your place in life, and I have mine." Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open again to reveal the Duke's mother. "Johnny, we are all looking for you, son." Chef Thomas and the maids immediately started working at a regular pace, while the Duke and Alina stared into each other's hurt eyes. "Are you the interior decorator?" The Duke's mother questioned Alina. Finally taking her eyes off of the Duke, Alina replied, "Yes, Your Majesty," as she curtsied for the first time since the Duke's mother entered the kitchen. "Well, I must say it looks lovely. Better than I ever expected," the Duke's mother said. "Thank you. I was just leaving, as my work is done here," Alina responded. After that, she gathered her things from her room, said goodbye to the butler, the cook, the maids, and Dr. Schwartz, and had the butler take her home. On her way down the mountain in the butler's car, Alina couldn't help but think about how the Duke didn't stop her from leaving. It was as if he were hoping for just that outcome. Little did she know, the Duke's mother did everything in her power to stop him from chasing after Alina. When her guilt trips didn't work, she chose the one thing that would work: an audience. As long as all of those guests were there, the Duke had a reputation to uphold. He couldn't just walk away from the festivities, even if he wanted to. Once Alina arrived home, she gave her father the biggest hug ever. "I missed you so much, my girl," her father said. After that, Alina gave her father a brief overview of the events which took place the past few weeks, so if he keeps his promise, you and the townspeople no longer owe that debt, she explained to her father. "Alina, I am so proud of you," her father said, kissing her forehead. "I forbade you from going, but you are well. That is all a father can ask for." After that, Alina mostly lay in her bedroom, dreading the anticipation of the upcoming village festival. Her father saw that she was depressed, but didn't stress the issue, for he knew she would let him know of her woes, if and when she wanted to. The day of the festival, Alina's father begged her to attend, but she refused. The festival lasted for 3 days, And on the third day, the townspeople were invited to have dinner inside of the Duke's chateau. While that was happening, Alina remained in her house depressed. Once everyone went to the Duke's chateau, mostly on a horseback hayride, the town became ghostly quiet. But Alina didn't mind, because her heart still ached for the Duke. On their way back, the town began chanting, "Hi-ho, the Duke forgave our debt!" Alina came out to the front porch to witness the commotion. Alina, the Duke is getting married, young Julia exclaimed, running toward Alina. "What do you mean?" Alina asked, alarmed at Julia's claim. The Duke and Lady Isabella are getting married." As Alina's father came walking up behind Julia, he watched as tears flooded Alina's eyes. She stood up and ran inside of her house, slamming the screen door in the process. Julia, looking alarmed, turned to Alina's father. "Did I say something wrong?" she asked, shrugging. "No, sweetheart," Alina's father replied. "Alina is just emotional right now." After that, Alina cried on her father's lap, confessing almost all the details, as her father rubbed his fingers through Alina's hair, as he'd done since she was young. "I don't know what I expected," she sniffled. "You expected him to be a decent person." "Like you," her father replied. "Well, did you like my interior decor?" Alina asked. In between sniffles, "Baby, it was all everyone kept talking about when we first arrived. You really have a knack for interior design, don't you?" Her father marveled. "I do, father." "Then I think maybe we could turn the Lovell shop into just that." "An interior design studio," her father exclaimed. Alina sat up, tissue in hand, to face her father. "But what I really want, father, more than anything, is to travel." Her father thought it over for a while before responding. "If that will bring a smile back to your beautiful face, then that is what you'll do." Alina hugged her father tight. "Thank you, father. I won't let you down." "You could never," her father cried. So, they began making plans for Alina to travel, starting the next week, when she would leave the village and head over the West Mountain to start her travels as a designer. The Duke put his hand on his heart, as his legs gave way to weakness. Momentarily, luckily, his father caught him. "Now look at what you have done." The Duke's father scolded his mother. "I'm fine," the Duke said, straightening himself out. "But you will help me fix this, mother." "Gio, my son, she will resent you if you interfere with her career," the Duke's mother claimed. "That is a chance I'm willing to take then." This was something she had only ever dreamed about. Previously, back at the chateau, the Duke was arguing with his mother constantly. "I'm beginning to think you don't want to see me happy," the Duke yelled to his mother. "I do!" "I just want you to make the right choices," his mother cried. "Right for who, mother? For you?" "My son, listen to me," the Duke's mother said. "Tell us how to help, son," the Duke's father stated. Down in the village, the time had come for Alina to get into the cab which would lead her over the West Mountain to the train station. As she walked toward the cab, the village people gathered around her to say goodbye. Alina's father put her suitcase in the trunk. Then he hugged his daughter in heartfelt goodbye. One by one, every village member gave Alina a hug. The village people didn't often see too many leave the valley, so losing Alina to the rest of the world was hard for all of them. As Alina began getting into the cab, a car came hurriedly toward them, honking like crazy. "Is that the royal car?" a villager asked. The weather was a bit rainy and foggy that day, making everything hard to see. "It is. It's the Duke family," another villager exclaimed. The car came to an immediate stop, right in front of Alina's cab. Alina, trembling, stayed sitting in the cab. "With door open," the Duke responded. One by one, the Duke, followed by his parents, got out of the car. The Duke shook Alina's father's hand, as the villagers showed respect by bowing and curtsying. A silence fell over the crowd of villagers as the Duke walked over to Alina's cab door. He reached his hand out. Alina nervously obliged. Slowly, with the help of his hand, Alina came out of the cab. The Duke began to speak. "Alina Lavelle, since the day I first saw you, I have been under a love spell that I could not shake if I wanted to." The villagers and the Duke's parents chuckled before quieting again. "Alina Lovell, there is nobody I'd rather spend my life with than you. I know that you have your dreams of traveling and working. But if you agree to become my wife, Duchess Alina, I have a compromise that I think will please you well." Alina fought back tears. She looked toward the Duke's mother. The Duke's mother wasted no time approaching Alina. "Dear girl, I misjudged you from the start, and for that, I am very sorry. My son is madly in love with you, and you have changed him for the better. Please forgive me. I even came out in this messy weather, just for you." The villagers chuckled again. Alina, with tears now streaming down her face, hugged the Duke's mother, followed by the Duke's father. Before Alina turned back to him, the Duke got on one knee. When Alina turned around, he said, "Alina Lovell, will you be my wife?" Everybody was quiet in anticipation for her answer, but Alina didn't have to think about it. "Yes," she shouted. "I will marry you, Gioni Duke." Everybody cheered and clapped as soon-to-be Duchess Alina and Gioni, the Duke, passionately kissed one another. Amongst the raindrops, that summer, the tiny village nestled in a valley celebrated the biggest wedding of the decade. The villagers chanted, "Duchess Alina! Duchess Alina!" every time she made a public appearance. For several years, the Duke traveled with Duchess Alina as she started her interior designer business. Her business became an international success. And the best part was, the villagers never had to pay tax again. The end.